seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
This is Duck Insider.
Duck's gonna pick it up, and here we go. And Chuck how about that? Score. How about that? Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
Omarui for three. Yes! Oh, and a steal and slam for Williams. Duarte to the basket. The slam. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champ.
Holy three. Goal! Holy ball. Left wing. Pow. Yeah, boom, boom. Regular season champions. And now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you, and happy Tuesday. We got Tip-Off Tuesday coming up this afternoon. Head coach Kelly Graves, also freshman Sydney Parrish, going to be featured with Terry Johns. And I sat down with associate head coach Tony Stubblefield this morning, and also he's back, Will Richardson. We talked with the Oregon junior who made his season debut this past weekend. That's on Tip-Off Tuesday. This afternoon, you can watch the show live on the Go Ducks YouTube, the Oregon men's and women's basketball Facebook pages. And if you want to tune in on your local radio affiliate, 7 o'clock this evening. And, of course, subscribe to the Oregon Sports Network podcast where you can find everything on demand. It's essentially our radio archive for those of you who maybe are outside the marketplace or want to tune in a little bit later on, all of our archived interviews from everything that we've got for you. It's a lot of fun. That's coming up this afternoon. Of course, for women's basketball, things did not go according to plan last night. Ducks dropping that matchup to Arizona, a 79-59 final. First half, pretty darn competitive. Second half, though, it did not go Oregon's way. Kelly Graves on that coming up, the Oregon head coach. We'll have him talking to the media postgame in just a moment. Some Oregon softball news, as tomorrow we'll have a full season preview with head coach Melissa Lombardi, and they've got a cool event coming up tonight. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, their virtual Diamond Dinner will be on Facebook Live this evening. Melissa Lombardi on that in a moment. And it is Athletic Director Tuesday, always brought to you by Pepsi and locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Jody Sykes, Chief Compliance Officer. We actually sat down with her yesterday. We'll tell you why in a moment. And Nils Schyllander, head coach Oregon men's tennis, because it is Husky week. The Ducks will play actually a non-conference matchup with the Huskies on Saturday, just one of many sporting events going on this weekend around the University of Oregon. For women's basketball, the first half, pretty good. Solid offense. Probably the best offense we've seen the Ducks play in a while in their in and out, lack of a rhythm lineup. But the second half did not go Oregon's way as Arizona made some big plays and the Ducks did not keep pace. The shooting woes continue a little bit in the second half for Oregon women's basketball, and they got to find a way to bounce back because they've got a couple big-time matchups this weekend. Actually, it's another big Monday matchup for Oregon women's basketball when Stanford comes to town next Monday, and the Ducks will play Cal on Friday beforehand. It looks like a fourth straight title will be tough for the Ducks. But, man, they've been right there in it. I'm confident that this team will figure a few things out, though, as the lineup becomes more consistent. Now, Coach Graves won't make that excuse. Everybody's been dealing with that in a season like this, but Oregon women's basketball is looking for some consistency in its rotation. Kelly Graves talked about that, and as you can imagine, was a very honest post-game conversation with the head coach after a tough loss yesterday.
You know, it's just disappointing. I don't have any other, words to say. Listen, I'm proud of our team. They played hard. They played hard to the finish. We just didn't play that well. We didn't shoot it well, and obviously we didn't defend well enough. You can't let a team come in and shoot over 50% from the field against us. And I don't know what they shot from the three. 60%.
9 of 15.
Yeah. So, it's just disappointment. But again, we can't feel sorry for ourselves. No one else does. I mean, we've won this league 3 years in a row. You think they want a little bit of payback, and when they see us down a little bit, they're gonna attack and make us pay.
A little bit of pick your poison, as you mentioned. The 3-pointers, you did a great job on Ari McDonald, I thought, for most of the game, and then Kate Reese got loose. So only had 3-pointers coming in on the season, but nailed 3 today and had a great game, 25 points.
Isn't that the way it works sometimes? I mean, you know, you play to the scout, but then after she made one, she started the game down at their place with a made 3-pointer. And, you know, you got to adjust. You got to go out and do a better job defending them. And same with Baptiste, but we didn't tonight. So, you know, I give them the credit. They came in here and that second half, they just raised it another level. I thought we did some good things tonight, but just defensively, we weren't nearly on point like we were at their place.
And rebounding was a big factor. They had a pretty good edge on you for a while. It ends up a little closer, 42-37. And you had the edge on the offensive boards and 14-7 and second chance points. But overall, the boards, they did pretty well, up above what they normally do.
Yeah, well, I look at those offensive boards, you know, yeah, sure, we got 17 of them. But at the same time, when you shoot 32%, there's a lot of missed shots to go get, Terry.
Kelly, were you looking for a spark there late in the third and early in the fourth with the 3 big lineup, or were you trying to send a message to your guards, or both?
Little of both. You know, we've been kind of going with a bigger, you know, kind of a more power attack, and at times it looked pretty good. And so that allows us to play a longer 3 because it's a non-ball handling position. And, you know, I at that point was just trying to figure out anything that might work, you know. So we were down to we'd gone through plan A and plan B, and I was down to plan C. And, you know, and at that point we were kind of looking forward to, you know, the future. What can we do and how can we make this work?
I don't want to harp on the 3-point shooting, but I'm going to. Is there a lack of confidence right now with this group, or kind of how do you explain? I know this is a talented shooting group at 3 for 15 this game, and it hasn't been much better the last couple of weeks.
Nope, it hasn't. That's, you know, and they go 9 for 15. There's the difference in your game right there. There's 18 points from 3-pointers, and we shot exactly the same amount. They go 9 for 15. We go 3 for 15. We lose by 20. That's 18 points. I don't know. I thought for the most part we had some pretty good shots and have been getting them. You know, they can only make them in practice, and you know, and you can just try to get good shots. And I think for the most part, you know, we had pretty good threes, and they're just not going. So, you know, that ends up being a confidence issue, but it's an issue that they themselves have to work through.
Kelly, who on this team are you looking to from a leadership standpoint? You know, obviously you lost a lot of great leaders from last year's team, and you've hit a couple bumps here this year with a new cast. Who are you looking to kind of turn into a leader down the stretch?
Again, I think that has to happen organically. I can say you're our leader, but if the rest of the team doesn't see it that way, then you know, so no, I think that's still something that we're really trying to work through. I don't mean to be negative here. I always try to be as positive as possible, but we've got issues, and that's one of them. And we need to find a way so that it's not always coming from the bench. I can't be that guy all the time. It's got to come from them. And until it does, we're going to have outcomes like this. You know, it'll look good some nights and it'll look not so good some nights. But still, we're working through that.
Defense has been a bright spot the last few weeks. What were they doing to break you down in the second half? Was it just an intensity issue?
Yeah, and they're just more athletic than us. Let's face it. I mean, you know, they were more athletic at pretty much every position most of the night. And, you know, first half, I thought we had a good game plan and executed it relatively well. But, you know, in the second half, you rely on them a lot more. They have to be in sync because they're not in front of you. We can talk them through some stuff in the first half, and we do. We're a loud bench. Second half, it's a little tougher, and we had some breakdowns, and you know, and then they shot it well. They did. I mean, you're just not used to seeing some of those kids make those kind of shots, but it was a little of everything. I mean, it wasn't just one thing.
Yeah, Coach. Everyone mentioned the 3 points, but I thought, and see if you agree, on the first half, you know, if Erin Boley hits her fadeaways, Sedona hits her turnaround jumpers, there's a number of lay-ins missed. It wasn't just the threes. If you'd have made that, you'd probably been up by 10, half, and it'd be a different game.
Yeah, we're not shooting the ball. One of the best shooting teams in the country over the last several years, and we're just not. And I still feel we have it in us. We're just not shooting it well. And and I don't know. I've got to find a way to get the kids more confident. Again, I can only do what I can do and get them the shots that I think they can make. And for the most part, we are. It's always tough against an athletic team like Arizona, and you just got to give them the credit. They're an experienced team. Ari's a fifth-year senior. Baptiste is a grad transfer. Sam Thomas has been a 4-year starter for them. Pueyo's been in the program 3 years. Pellington's been 3. They've just got experience, and they play hard, and they know who they are and what they do, and and we're just still trying to find our way through it.
I can appreciate that without Chavez and Maddie, it certainly impacts some things in the rotation. But to follow on kind of the shooting issue, it looks like Jazz is having a bit of a challenge in the role that she's playing right now. And Mike's, it looks like the last couple of games has been rushing some of the threes. Boley didn't take any today. Is it the confidence factor, or is it the distribution and where they're getting it and being spot up shooters, or is it just a combination of things that's just kind of snowballing on all this?
It's all of the above. All of the above, James. We're still trying to search. I mean, and I'm not going to use this as an excuse. We got our butts kicked tonight. But the reality is we got kids in and out of the lineup. We've got the COVID thing going. I mean, I wanted to play the game Saturday just so tonight wasn't our first game. I thought we got a lot of the rust out the first night. We got kids limited in practice. I got some important ones, I won't tell you who, aren't practicing every day. And, and now we've got 2 sitting out with COVID. It's been a hodgepodge. And I'm just struggling to get any kind of continuity. And so it's hard. It's just been hard. It's been a challenge, to find exactly what's going to work with the group that we have. And the group that we have from week to week's been different. And, but I'm confident that, we only have 5 league games left. I'm confident that we're going to, find that. And I truly am. And that's all I can do is believe in our group. Look, how about this? I mean, what do we have? 20,000 turnovers at their place tonight? We had 6 tonight. That's a 19,000 improvement. So there were some positives. Our defense just wasn't on point like it was there. We just haven't put it together at both ends. And I think the shooting will help that. So I'm an optimist. I'm also a realist, but I am an optimist by heart. And I truly believe at some point we're going to get this group all together. We're going to get those kids back. We're going to get 13 people at practice every day. And James, we're going to find a way to get it done. We're going to find a way.
They're dedicated. Tell you what, as he was ending that post-game conversation, I was listening to it. I just went, man, yeah, they're frustrated. But they know that there's some bright spots ahead of them. And that's Kelly Graves talking with the media. A question from Don, where's Taylor Chavez? Taylor Chavez in protocol right now. So the Ducks have been without a consistent lineup, much like on the men's side. Every head coach interview this year brought to you by the William Valley Cancer Institute and Research Center. Fight like a duck with cancer care you can count on. Speaking of head coaches, tonight you can join Oregon softball. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, check out their virtual diamond dinner. Melissa Lombardi had some nice things to say about what you can expect tonight. It starts at 5:30 on Facebook Live. If you miss it or if you're listening to this show on one of our later broadcasts or an archive platform, don't worry. You'll be able to find it on the Facebook Live archive on the Oregon softball social media. But Melissa Lombardi pretty excited about tonight, I think.
Last year we did a diamond dinner in person, and it was a big event. You got to meet the team, learn about the team, some things you don't always see on the field. They do some skits, which is kind of fun, so you get to see a different side of them. This year, we're not able to do it in person, so we want to bring the diamond dinner to all of our fans, supporters, families. And we're just going to go do virtual on Facebook Live. And instead of each group doing some type of skit, Our team is just famous for their TikToks. We've got some cool TikToks in store for you all tonight.
Yeah, that's true. They are famous for their TikToks. Of course, the latest Mighty Oregon podcast with Mr. Mosley, talking with Haley Cruz. Yeah, that's probably going to come up, I'd imagine, on that episode of Mighty Oregon podcast. That was Melissa Lombardi from our conversation. We actually talked to her this morning. Her full season preview, that'll be our first segment on Duck Insider tomorrow as Oregon softball readies for their Friday season opener. And men's basketball has also released a schedule update at Cal on Saturday, February 27th. That game will tip at 7 o'clock at Cal on February 27th. Of course, they're heading to the desert Thursday, 6 o'clock tip-off this week. Up next, Jody Sykes is going to join us. Really interesting conversation about the evolution of name, image, and likeness and the discussion around college sports. Chief Compliance Officer Jody Sykes with us next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCAA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Learfield IMG College.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
It's important to buckle up your kids.
I know.
Sometimes car seats can be complicated.
I know.
And if your child's in the wrong seat and you get into a crash,
I know.
it could lead to a serious injury.
I know.
So you're 100% sure you have the right car seat for your child's age and size?
I don't know.
Don't think you know. Know you know. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Make sure you have the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you, and I'm curious for everybody who's tuning in with Oregon women's basketball, do we like the 4 o'clock games? I do. I think that it's nice to have an earlier game, but those of you who are tuning in, I'm actually curious if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, chime in one of our comment sections. I like the 4 o'clock tip. I'm a fan, but I also understand that it's part of my job to be at these games and talk about these games. So I'm just wondering. Dave asked, what's the stat of Chris Duarte? Is he coming back to the lineup Thursday in Tempe? Well, Dane Altman said maybe. In other words, I don't think we know for sure yet, to be honest, Dave. The update, talking with Coach Stubbs and talking with Will Richardson for Tip-Off Tuesday that you'll hear this afternoon, is that I think they're all kind of waiting and seeing. I think we're still a little bit of ways away to see if he's going to be able to give it a go. But I don't know. Really, it's going to be a question for Chris Duarte because he rolled it so good and he hasn't really done that before. It's one of those things, right, where when you've rolled an ankle, it's the first time you do it, it's tough. Second time you do it, not as bad. Third time you do it, not as bad. So for Chris, if he's able to get that swelling and the soreness down, who knows? Maybe he is going to be able to give it a go on Thursday. They said that it was a outside chance, Coach Altman did. Meanwhile, we talked with Jody Sykes for our Athletic Director Tuesday interview brought to you by Pepsi and locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks, drink Pepsi. And it was a fascinating conversation. I didn't think that we would spend as much time as we did talking about name, image, and likeness, but it was actually fascinating. And we talked with Jody yesterday, and, well, we'll tell you why with Chief Compliance Officer Jody Sykes. It's always one of my favorite interviews when we get a chance to talk about compliance. And I think that for a lot of fans, you're like, man, talking about compliance, how can that be one of your favorite interviews? Well, I think it's a fascinating subject, and I know that our guest Jody Sykes does as well, Chief Compliance Officer here at Oregon. Now, Jody, I always make the joke on the show that I don't want to get an email from compliance that says I'm in trouble, but I actually really enjoy these conversations because I think that it's complex. There's a lot to unpack, but that's kind of what you do every day, right? It's complex and there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, for sure. But I just appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation about it that maybe gives the public and the fans a little bit of insight into the world of compliance too, right? So compliance has this reputation of just being the enforcers or the, the monitors or the police, or whatever. There's always the stories of, oh my gosh, why is compliance at practice today? The coaches get all nervous when we walk in, and that's just, it's not the way that we operate. We're trying to be a resource. We're trying to provide education, and we're trying to do things to make sure we're all successful and doing things the right way. So anytime I can have a conversation with you or with others who are interested in learning just a little bit more about the complexity that is compliance, that's always a fun day for me, because it helps me feel like a normal human being to out there listening to what I do for a daily job.
I love it. Well, then we're here for you anytime. Anytime there's something that comes up, you've got the forum. I can offer it at any time. The reason that we are recording this segment is because Jody is not sure as of 11:37 a.m. on Monday, February 8th, if she's going to be at jury duty this week. So there's always something, right, Jody?
Absolutely. So you get the letter in the mail and you make the note calendar, and you just one more thing, let's just plan it together. So I have to call this evening at some point and see if my juror number has been selected, and then maybe I'll be available tomorrow and maybe I won't, but we'll see later on tonight.
Okay, well, good luck. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us anyway. So what's been up? I mean, we haven't talked to you since before the holiday break. It feels like a lot has gone on since then. It feels like it was like a year ago's holiday break, not just a few months ago. What's been up since then, Jody? What's on your plate these days?
Yeah, it feels like the days go by so slowly, but then you look up and 2 months have gone by. So the things that are dealing with, or the compliance is dealing with right now, are just as complex as they've always been. We started the conversation with that word, complexity, right? So in addition to having our normal rules and our normal case precedent and things that we look at and answer the questions for coaches, we've got this whole COVID Q&A document too. And so there's these pages and pages and pages of COVID answers and COVID exceptions or waivers or relief or things that have been granted that are specific to COVID, right? And so we're dealing with, here's how we would normally answer the question, and here's how we're going to answer the question because it's been given relief by COVID, or it's been changed because of the temporary something, or
right.
Constant conversation about what the dead period is and when it's going to be extended or not extended and what that's going to look like and what could it turn into. And not to mention the amount of waivers that we filed to try to get relief that isn't already covered, or we'll file a waiver about something and then like 2 weeks later, there will be a blanket relief granted by an NCAA committee or subcommittee. So it's just been an interesting time because you're constantly thinking, okay, how can we help? What can we do? What's changed about these circumstances? No fans, managers limited. What does that do for sports? So it's just a constantly different conversation. There's not even one topic that consistently comes up. It's just all over the board about, okay, so this happened today. How do we fix it? And this is happening tomorrow. And how do we fix it? And so it's been complete chaos.
Jody, one thing that I've noted on the show and to fans before is I think this climate, especially in sports, has really tested how fast we all can adapt, right? And when their schedule changes, that normally in a season, if we had a basketball game that was canceled, that'd be a huge, huge deal. That's like not something that we ever thought about in communication with fans, affiliate networks, and everything else. Have you kind of felt that in compliance too? Like you guys are adapting much faster than had ever been normal, and maybe you guys ever thought that you would be able to in the past?
For sure. I think that's been the theme of this, right? Is adapt and overcome, or what's the pivot meme for the friends, right? Everybody's early on in like October, I was using the dumpster fire meme because it felt felt like everything was just, it was a dumpster fire that was floating down a flooded street. So, you got this water underneath that's raging, and then in the dumpster itself, you've got this fire that's blowing up. And compliance is the same way, just as coaches, just as broadcasters, just as, athletic directors and health officials and we're adapting to what's different. What can we do? How can we change? Where can we pivot? And I think our staff has handled that fairly well, in trying to just be as flexible and as accommodating as we can, asking questions that we maybe never would have asked of either the conference office or the NCAA, saying, hey, we need some relief in this area because this is not normal, or hey, how do we handle this because this is not normal. Even some of these delays with our sports that are happening, we're asking questions about, well, what can we do and how can we provide, maybe it's food, or maybe it's practice for those who aren't in quarantine, or what does that look like, and do we need to have any precautionary steps or any different just changes. And so we're constantly thinking about that. We're constantly talking to each other and brainstorming with our sport administrators and our athletic administration and our medical staff, and just, okay, so here's the compliance concern. How do we work around that, or how do we adapt to that and still meet the medical concern, or still meet the scheduling concern, or still meet the budgeting concern, or still meet all of those things, right? So even more so than normal, we always have those conversations, but even more so than we normally would, we're just looking at, okay, how do we flex, and how do we adapt, and how do we change, and how do we pivot and get where we need to get to?
Do you think that as a result of this, the NCAA and the larger governing bodies around college athletics are going to move faster and be more adaptable as a result of this sort of stress period of the last year?
The optimist in me says yes.
Sure.
But the realist in me says probably not. The name, image, and likeness conversation comes up all the time. And then there were proposals in the cycle that were going to be voted on in January. And then there is a change with the Supreme Court deciding to hear the Alston case, and then a letter that comes to the NCAA from the Department of Justice. And those proposals that were set to be voted on are now on hold. And we don't know exactly when or what the time frame is going to be as to when those are going to actually get discussed again, because to wait, for this Department of Justice stuff and for the Alston Supreme Court hearing to happen. And so you look at that and you're like, well, we were almost on the verge of making some significant change, and now that we don't know when it's going to come back. But on the other hand, we have had some of the working groups, like the Football Oversight Committee and the Men's and Women's Basketball Oversight Committee, that have made some solid changes in a relatively short period of time based on what they're seeing. Ironically, we were having a conversation amongst Pac-12 compliance people just this past Friday about trying to be more proactive instead of reactive. But the men's basketball waiver is a perfect example. It's fantastic for those students who are 4-4 transfers to not have to serve their year in residence. It affected Aaron Estrada on our team. And it's great that that's something that needed to happen, but it happened in second week of December, right? I mean, why couldn't that have happened in early October, or something like that? So I still think there's work to be done. Like I said, optimistically, I would love for things to move a little faster. Realistically, I don't know. I would love for it to happen, but I just don't know if that's just the structure that we're housed in, that we work under.
Well, maybe it'll change. I mean, who knows? I thought that there was a certain structure in the way we were going to communicate to broadcast affiliates, and it's completely been thrown out the window and blown up over the last 12 months. So, no, I mean,
I will tell you that we are learning. That we are learning from this, and that there will be changes probably to recruiting, and some of rules based on how coaches have adapted to the virtual recruiting world. So, we've found ways to have success with other limitations. And so I would love for this change in the cycle and the change in the way we operate to be one of those effects or side effects of what we've learned from COVID.
Quick time out. We're going to get back to our conversation with Jody Sykes. So we went really in depth on the name, image, and likeness conversation and what's going to happen in the months to come, as there's a lot of news about that. Jody Sykes, our Chief Compliance Officer, a wealth of information. More coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Dear Wallet, you can't stop a new 2021 Toyota, no matter the weather. The Camry all-wheel drive comes out to play. Snowy hills don't stand a chance against the RAV4, and everyone will be comfy in the Highlander. See you in the snow. Toyota. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCAA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear Wallet, you can't stop a new 2021 Toyota, no matter the weather. The Camry all-wheel drive comes out to play. Snowy hills don't stand a chance against the RAV4, and everyone will be comfy in the Highlander. See you in the snow. Toyota. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Everybody buckle up. Buckle up.
Let's go.
Buckle up.
Can we go to the store? Mom, can we get some ice cream?
Everybody, buckle up.
A lot goes on in the car, but you're in control. So only move when you hear the click that says they're buckled in. Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack. We continue our conversation from yesterday with Jody Sykes. Thought she might have jury duty today, so we recorded a little bit early. Athletic Director Tuesday, always brought to you by Pepsi and locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Fascinating conversation that you're about to hear about name, image, and likeness. Big topic around college athletics. Our Chief Compliance Officer, Jody Sykes. Where do things stand now as you await the sort of next step? You touched on it a little bit. I just wanted to drill in on that. I think there's a lot in your world that grabs headlines, as we've discussed with name, image, likeness over the years, and we've talked about that on the show. I mean, what's kind of the next evolution? Are you just really just waiting to kind of see how everything plays out? How do you prepare for the next steps if you're just kind of waiting in that moment, I guess?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, particularly as it relates to name, image, and likeness, really the only thing that we can do right now is work on educating our student athletes. So we're putting together, working with our partners at a variety of our corporate partners and their influential peoples, and we're putting together videos to help educate our student athletes in very short snippet, kind of really impactful, but in short ways that they can absorb really quickly certain things that they might start needing to think about rather. Things like branding and entrepreneurship and what is a contract and taxes and all of these things that as these name, image, and likeness bylaws and opportunities change, what are we going to be able to tell them? What are we going to be able to help them with? What are we going to educate them about so that they can be successful as these rules change? Now, the big kicker here is nothing has changed just yet. Right. So none of the bylaws that we were expecting to change in January have changed. And even if they had changed in January, we weren't expecting them to be effective until probably July or August. But then the bigger concern is, well, there's these state proposals, one in Florida and one in California, that might be effective here in July. And so what do we do with those? Right. And I'm sure folks who follow the sports world have seen some of the legislators' statements and bills that are being proposed in various states and even federally about different things. And so just dealing with, those kinds of changes. So for me, even though we're trying to do this education and we're trying to help our student athletes position themselves in a way that they can take advantage once the rules change, we really don't know exactly where to point them or exactly how to educate them, because we don't know what the rules are going to be. And again, that's on all three levels. That's on the federal government level, that's on the state level, and that's on the NCAA level. So we're doing the best that we can to kind of roll with what we can do. But until we get something more concrete to work with, until we get everybody on the same page, we're kind of just adapting as it comes.
What I'm hearing, though, is everybody expects there to be some change. It's just a question of what the change will look like. I mean, is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. Yeah, there will definitely be change. I just don't know if that's going to be small scale phased in change or grand, just drop everybody in the bucket change. Right. I'm not sure, but there needs to be, and there will be change, as we've seen from the NCAA's proposed legislation that was voted on, as we've seen from the state bills and things that have passed. There is going to be change. It's just a matter of exactly what that will be. And for me, for compliance, the details are super important. Because we can get one interpretation or a blanket waiver of something. LJ Figueroa is a perfect example. That blanket waiver that was passed for 4-4 transfers didn't apply to LJ because he had already transferred prior to that. So when you're looking at the details, everybody's like, oh, LJ and Aaron are both great to go. But that's not the way that it actually would have worked out. It was only Aaron that met the criteria of that waiver. And so we still had to pursue the other one on LJ, which fortunately had been granted just prior to that. Good. But, those are the details that from a compliance perspective, we have to look at and see what actually is going to change and what actually is going to go into effect.
Devil's in the details. Jody Sykes, Chief Compliance Officer, is our guest. How many questions, or maybe two-part question, Jody. I mean, how many student athletes are asking questions about these sorts of subjects? I mean, do you get emails, questions from even student athletes, like through the coaches? Like, are you getting a lot of these questions in this landscape? Because it seems like things are moving so fast. I'd imagine as a student athlete, it'd be like, my head's spinning. I just want to know the answer, right?
So we have a handful of student athletes who are definitely focused on this, and we have gotten some questions either directly or through their coaches. So we are providing them with feedback based on their specific case scenarios, and that's what we'll continue to do with our student athletes even going forward, is look at what they're trying to do. What kind of business do you want to start? How looking to capitalize on your name, image, and likeness? Is it through social media or is it through some other avenue? Where are the rules right now, and how does that affect what you want to do right now versus what is it you want to try to do once the rules actually change? So yeah, I would say we have a handful of student athletes who are completely dialed into this, have been tracking on this, are looking at where this lands, and are trying to figure out, how do I start on this now so that I am good to go when the rules change? I would tell you, though, that the majority of our student athletes are kind of just sitting and waiting and seeing what's going to be available. And we've got some who are, very social media savvy and active. We've got some who are active on gaming sites. We've some who want to do YouTube tutorials and social media stuff. We have some that want to start businesses that are not related to athletics at all. Right. And in some cases, those can actually be started now, depending on how they put them together. So those are the things that we're working with on a case-by-case, student-by-student basis, and trying to provide them with the guidance that keeps them eligible, but lets them do what they want to do, or help them prepare for the future when they are able to change the way that they do things, so that they can capitalize on that right away. It hasn't been everybody, but there is a strong handful of folks who are really dialed into this.
Prior to this, Jody, what was like the biggest question that you would get from student athletes? And maybe this isn't the biggest number one question you're getting from student athletes. I mean, in the compliance world, what were some of those big questions in the past and historically?
Historically, I think that a lot of the questions were around eligibility. How many seasons have I used? How many years can I play? And I think in some ways that's still probably the biggest question we get. It just is, okay, how did my COVID year back affect my eligibility? Right. Or like we've had conversations with a lot of what we're calling our super seniors about who can come back and why and who is coming back, and are you going to be a super senior or not, and what does that do to your eligibility, and is there any paperwork that we have to complete, just kind of along those lines. So I still think eligibility and just the overall complexity is big. In the summer, we get a lot of questions about amateurism stuff for our sport. Can go out and compete in amateur events. So, maybe our track students who are running in private races or road races for our distance folks, maybe our golfers or our tennis student athletes who are competing in amateur events or professional events as an amateur. We got a lot of those questions during the COVID 9 months up until January too, because the extension of summer happened in the fall. So we had students who stayed home who were able to compete in local amateur competitions. They were enrolled in the fall term because they weren't here. And so, working through the complexities of those, I think are pretty constant regardless of COVID versus non-COVID times. Certainly the eligibility piece is big. I do think there has been an uptick in the name, image, and likeness questions, though.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we do have students who are starting to look at that more closely and follow that more closely and figure out what they can do.
Devil's in the details. I'm going to start putting that on your business card, Jody. That's for sure. Jody Sykes, Chief Compliance Officer, our guest. We could unpack this more, and we will, I'm sure, on future segments here for Athletic Director Tuesday, brought to you by Pepsi and locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. I do want to ask you, though, Jody, about women's golf and watching them get off to a great start. A top 15 team by pretty much every metric out there early in this spring season for them. I mean, women's golf is off to a great start in the spring.
Absolutely fantastic. They were so excited to have competition this past weekend. And of course, anytime you can beat the Beavs, right? That's just awesome. Absolutely. So it was a really fun format. It's good exhibition, kind of competition with the Beavers up in Corvallis, but really great for the women to get out there and just have some competitive juices flowing and it's different. Golf is different when you're playing just to play and when you're playing for a score that counts. And so it was great preparation and really nice of the Beavers to host us and get that under our belts for both the Beavers and for the Ducks, and try to get ready for next week when they head down to Arizona. Hopefully it'll be a little warmer than it was. I have to tell you, I went out on Saturday and just got completely soaked because I had on the rain gear and I was dry underneath the rain gear, but it was, this is just February in Oregon, right? So it'll be great for them to get down to some warmer weather and maybe see what muscles they need to flex in the heat. But it's been fantastic. They're just super excited to get out there, and they're a great group of people and coaches. I'm sure you all saw maybe over the end of last week, Cynthia, number 50 ranking. So that's huge for us. But even our upperclassmen and our returners, just really excited to get going and so much fun to watch.
Great stuff from Jody Sykes. I always enjoy our conversations with the Chief Compliance Officer. She's also the sports administrator for Oregon Women's Golf. We talked after we wrapped up the recording if much has really changed for her as a sports administrator, and she said, no, there's just more of it going on now with more sports taking place at the same time. Great conversation with Jody Sykes. I thought that was fascinating about the name, image, and likeness stuff. Brought to you by Pepsi, locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks, drink Pepsi. Thanks to Jody Sykes for joining us. Up next, it's Husky Week. Nils Schyllander, Oregon men's tennis head coach, with us after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Hi, welcome to the Spicy Drive-In. May I take your order?
Can I get the spicy chicken sandwich, please?
The spicy chicken is an excellent choice, sir. And to drink?
Whatever's fine.
Oh, may I make a beverage pairing recommendation this evening?
Sure.
If we are feeling especially bold tonight, sir, I would recommend the Mountain Dew with that. It's bravely unrestrained with a very alive aroma that pairs wonderfully with your spicy chicken. It's followed by a hint of zesty citrus flavor.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I'm sure you already know this, sir, but remember to appreciate the nose first by giving the Mountain Dew a little swirl to really volatilize it.
What?
To change the flavor compounds and activate your taste buds to get them fully primed for that chicken sandwich.
It's delicious.
Now you're getting the hang of it. The muscular flavor charge characteristics of Mountain Dew make for an absolutely epic mouthfeel when paired with spicy cuisine. It is quite on point, sir.
Dude, it's a perfect match. Like they were made for each other.
So true, so true.
When you want to make good food bolder and bold food better, do the Dew.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics. This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Stuck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. Oregon men's tennis head coach Nils Schyllander. We talked to him earlier this morning via the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line. It was cool to talk about his team's 4-0 start, and it's Husky week, as you'll hear. Off to a 4-0 start. That's what I want to talk about first with head men's tennis coach Nils Schyllander. And, Coach, hey, first of all, it's great to see you, and great backdrop. Well done. Well done, sir.
Yeah, we're trying here.
I think that looks, that's one of the better ones I've seen with the big O in the background. Coach joining us.
Simple, but yet functional.
That's right. Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. You guys got a couple victories over BYU. Let's start there. And a couple victories over Portland State. So far, how about a 5-2, 7-0, 6-1, and 7-0? That's a lot of victories for your squad so far this year, Coach.
Yeah, no, it's been good. But we've only been doing what we should be doing. BYU is a very dangerous team. And, the second outing against BYU, we played real well. And another good thing is we've been able to rotate pretty much the whole lineup through these four. So everybody has seen some type of action out there, especially after almost a year layoff from competing.
How's that been, Coach? I mean, just now that you guys have been back practicing, we talked during the extended off season. What was it like just getting the team back together and back up to speed playing tennis together?
I think everybody was just very happy and, bringing just being able to do something you love again and do it together as a group. And the culture in this group is great. So hopefully, knock on wood, we'll be able to just keep on rolling because it's been, nothing but smiles on the courts.
Washington coming up on Saturday. We'll talk about that in a moment. Coach, I mean, were there any extra nerves for you, for the student athletes after such a long layoff? I mean, it just feels like it's different this time around.
Yeah, no, it is. You don't really know exactly what you have under the hood because it's been so long, and a lot of the athletes haven't been able to compete on their own when they've been home either, because of restrictions. So, pretty much 80% of our team had not played one competitive match since last March when we took the court against BYU.
With the matchups with BYU and Portland State, I was curious because this will happen later on in the season for you guys too, where you're playing the back-to-backs and even the double headers like you had against Portland State. Does the strategy change at all in those situations? I mean, you mentioned like rotating the lineups. Does the strategy change much in those double headers?
It is. I mean, it's long days and we scheduled that doubleheader just because we wanted to get as many of our athletes involved as possible this early in the season. We came out of it healthy and it was good, it was good. Everybody got to play.
Next up is Washington. Now, we were just talking before we pressed record that's a pretty big day at 2 o'clock in Eugene on Saturday when the Huskies come to town.
It is. I wish we could have our crowd out there for that one. I think I told you, to me, it's like Christmas, same to the team. When we play the Huskies, you're like a little kid. You can't go to sleep and pretty much run downstairs to see if the presents are under the tree. And it's the funnest match of the year. And we got them twice this year. We added a non-conference match as well with the Huskies.
Yeah, I was curious about that because on the schedule, it says that this is the non-conference meeting, right? So really the conference one that matters more is later in the season?
That's for conference standing, but this still counts the same as for rankings.
Got it.
And it's the Huskies. I mean... we could play at my cul-de-sac at home and it'd still be the Huskies. It's a big day.
I love that. I absolutely love that. You guys have had, in my time here, just some real classic matches between your two programs also. I mean, that's what a rivalry should be, right, Coach? Like, you should have matches that come down the wire like they have a few times.
Oh, that's what you train for. That's fun. It's a lot more fun to have a match like that than coming out 7-0 and the match never being in doubt. And, when we play Washington, it always goes down to the wire.
I think
they get up for it just like we get up for it.
I think I know the answer to this, especially based on what you just said, but do you talk to your team about the rivalry?
Oh, we call it the Happy Husky Week.
Yes.
We started a Happy Husky Week right after we played Portland State, and we talked about it and, take care of schoolwork early because we got to have perfect preparation because it's Husky Week.
What have you found in your career, especially with a roster like yours that has a lot of international students? Have you found that getting them acquainted to the rivalry it seems like it's not a hard thing to do, right? Like, do they feel that energy even when they're being recruited?
Oh yeah. And then once they get on campus, they hear it from the older players, and it's in the walls in there.
I absolutely love that. Nils Schyllander joining us, Oregon men's tennis head coach. So 2:00 on Saturday, the Ducks will face Washington as part of a non-conference slate that also includes Portland, Eastern Washington, New Mexico. And then before we know it, end of this month, you're getting into Pac-12 play. What's the scouting report on the rest of the conference this year? Any good?
Yeah, I think they answer that one. USC is number 1 in the country right now, and it just can keep going. I mean, every team in the conference has a very legitimate shot at the NCAA tournament. I mean, we could literally send everybody if things fall in the right place. And we start conference matches, I think, next week already. We're going to Arizona's.
That's wild. That it comes on you quick, doesn't it? Break down your roster for us, Coach. I mean, who are you guys really relying on this year? Who do you need to have good seasons from?
Well, Josh Charlton, who's had a stellar career, he's off to a good start. Manu Kosti has played the best tennis he has in his 4 years here, and I think he hasn't lost a single doubles match yet. We have a newcomer, Ryoma Matsushita. Who's just kind of coming into his own right now. It's never easy to come from a foreign country in January. Very pleasant surprise has been Quinn Vander, who has anchored the 3 spots so far. As a young freshman, he graduated high school a year early too.
Wow.
Only came in, he got a 4.1 GPA his first term here, so obviously nothing really phases him. His older brother, Luke, hasn't lost either, and Jesper from Sweden has he's really don't know what he did in the off season, but he is strong right now.
Oh wow,
he's a machine out there. And excuse me if I forget anyone, but the way I kind of look at it, we rely on everybody the same in a way. We're deep, and we're only as good as we are together as a group.
Is depth this year more important than any other year with the climate that we're in?
Oh yeah, you just don't know what's going to happen, and a lot of other schools had the 5th-year seniors, and they have like super teams, and but we do not have any 5th-year seniors, but we feel very good with what we have right now, and it's a really fun group. I mean, they get along so well, and that's half the battle.
Well, it sure looks like it's going to be a lot of fun this season. Off to a 4-0 start. Tell us a little bit about the Huskies. How do you beat them?
It's going to start with the doubles, and they're good. They just lost the close doubles point to Arkansas on the road, but they're very good there. But if we can get that on our home courts, I feel pretty good. And then we're just going to have to play our best tennis in every single spot, because I know they will.
Follow along, Oregon men's tennis, 2:00 on Saturday, the Ducks and the Huskies. Coach, this has been fun catching up with you and talking about the Husky Week. So I'm going to put it on my calendar right now that we're going to have to talk with you again the first week of April when it's Husky Week again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. Nils Schyllander, hey, thanks for taking the time, and also thanks again for helping us decorate our studio with our U.S. Open ball. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks, Joe. I appreciate you.
Good stuff from Nils Schyllander, Oregon men's tennis head coach. Up next, how about we go back in time to when Pape Field opened up? That's how we'll finish up Duck Insider today on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCAA. Equal housing opportunity.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Finishing up today's show with our Josh Cooley Home Field Advantage. The Josh Cooley Realty team always thanking you for their support and referrals of friends and family. We go back to the beginnings with Pape Field. We thought, hey, Graham Abel's Oregon soccer team got their first win. Graham Abel's first win as the head coach. Ducks are 1-0, and we thought, well, let's go back to Pape Field. Remember, it was completed in August of 2012 as a gift to the university from Phil and Penny Knight. The Randy and Susie Pape Complex, one of the newest, most advanced facilities in this country, even still here almost a decade later. Of course, a turf field that's a little bit unique in the collegiate soccer realm, also housing Oregon lacrosse. And the Ducks have really taken advantage of the facility. It's one of the most beautiful soccer facilities that you will see, with nearly 1,000 fans when it's at its full capacity. That is Pape Field. And that's our Josh Cooley Real Estate Team Home Field Advantage, the official real estate team of the Oregon Ducks. Go Ducks. That was cool to look back at Pape. The beginning. It brought back some memories. See you on Tip-Off Tuesday.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.